Welcome back on in, everybody, to the latest episode of the StricklyNFL podcast, post Week 1 edition. Joined by my co-host, as always, Desmond Novak over there. We have a special guest who you guys see on here a lot, my boy Luca. Going to be joining us today for some unfortunate Giants talk. But before we dive into all the happenings from Week 1, I just wanted to let everybody know that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all things football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. If you think you know your stuff, you can get in on their $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of their $200,000 prize. When the game's over, head over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with over 150 slots games. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. And I wish the Giants season never started because it was nothing but painful and miserable, and you guys all heard me talk about it on the post game with Schwinn. To sum up everything that I said, so I could pass it over to my guys over here afterwards, I just thought plainly the team got let down by its quarterback and they looked underprepared again. But I will let Desmond first give out his thoughts, and then Luca as well, since I kind of spewed my whole spiel on Sunday. So, Desmond.
All right. I don't want to – I feel like I might end up repeating a lot of things that have been said this week. But watching that game, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback fail at pretty much every aspect of the position like Daniel Jones did this week, of like – pocket presence. The dude ran into 4 fucking sacks. The Vikings got 5. Our line was credited for giving up 1. Like that's a special level of ass. And then, I mean, shit, reading a defense where he threw was it his first or his second one where he threw it into fucking triple coverage at Harrison Smith? Was that the second one? No, that was the first one.
I think that was the first one.
Yeah. Of like, Malik, I watched the graph of it. Malik Neighbors and Wandale were going to be open on the left side, and he had time in the pocket, and he just shits his pants and fucking throws it in a triple coverage. It's like there's no excuses at this point for him. You're in year 6. You're getting paid $40 million. The offensive line held up fairly enough. I don't give a shit what PFF says. I saw they were like defending him, saying he was pressured on a lot. Like, no, he wasn't. This is the best receiving core he's ever had. There are no excuses for him, and he just continues to come in and get worse. Like, it's not like he's just still not that great. He's getting worse week in and week out. And the other thing I'll say really bothered me from this game, and I know a lot of the beat reporters touched on it, was the seemingly like confusion amongst the coaching staff of like who was playing and who wasn't, of like Micah McFadden not getting any snaps, Isaiah Simmons not getting any snaps, Cordell Flott playing on the outside all summer getting put into the slot, Jalen Hyatt getting all this hype of being, I didn't think he was going to be the wide receiver too, but like there was talks of it.
They were trying to force it during camp, that's for sure.
Played what, 4 or 5 snaps, and then Brian Dable comes out and says he's now going to be the 3rd or 4th guy. Like, you showcase all of these things all summer long, and then the season starts, and it's like you immediately forget it all. Especially when it comes to Isaiah Simmons and Micah McFadden. Like, McFadden started all season long last year, and Isaiah Simmons was going to be like a jack-of-all-trades guy playing in the nickel or whatever, and then obviously can play linebacker, can play off the edge, can do all this shit. Neither of those guys play a single snap. They were both listed as healthy, so, like, what the fuck happened? I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Brian Dable, after, when he was asked about it, said it was something that they would have to talk about. Like, what's the game
plan? One
plan?
thing I can say is 9 snaps of the nickel corner slot went to McLeod. They would have gone to Simmons. And I don't remember exactly what Dable said about it. I can pull up the tweet. Shout out Art Stapleton. That's my source for this.
Yep.
But yeah, like, to your point, Desmond, I don't really understand how, like, this regime preaches, consistency and day in and day out grind and keeping things rolling week after week. And then to your point, Simmons, McFadden, and Hyatt all summer had huge roles in their respective positions. And then everything gets flipped on its head week 1. And not only is that an indictment on the coaching staff, it's also I can't imagine it's easy for the players either, right? Personnel, think of guys like Bobby Okereke who are calling out the defense, right? Like JMS has to deal with his line stuff. Even DJ, I'm not going to throw him any bait or any slack or anything, but like a game plan gets changed 8 hours before the game starts, and like everything goes out the window from that point.
Yep.
So, I'm not going to say like I'm losing faith in Dable. I just want to see things stay consistent because, the three of us know as Giants fans, we haven't had any fucking sort of consistency in the last, I don't even know how long.
And the other thing,
6 years, something like that. Without consistency, 6 years, something like that.
Yeah, do we want to say 2016?
I'd say it's been longer than that if we're going back to 2016.
Yeah, like
what is that? That's when did Coughlin resign? Even then, you could say we haven't had consistency since before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I did find the Stapleton tweet. He said, with Newbin taking the starting job and playing 100% of the snaps at safety, the Giants used Dane Belton as the money backer spot per Dable. Those 9 snaps, in theory, would have gone to Simmons instead. Even that, like, game day decision for both guys, McLeod and Simmons, you can't do that to them. I'm sorry. Like, that's how you just fuck up an entire week's long game plan. And we know it's been more than just this past week preparing for this week 1 game against the Vikings.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you got it.
Joke first. To me, that is like, if you watched the presidential debate last night, when the moderator asked Trump, it's like, but JD Vance has said the opposite. And he was like, I haven't talked to JD. It's like, these guys just like don't talk about who's going out like on a per drive basis.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys are going into the game and you're not like, okay, maybe Newbin plays 100% of snaps. If that happens, then we do this. It's just total incompetence. And I said to some people, this was the first time where, reflecting on a game, I was like, if we fired Brian Daboll this season, I wouldn't be upset about it. Because this stuff happened with Wink here. It's happening with the guy that they pretty much handpicked to be their second DC. It's happened with the offense that Daboll runs himself after begging Kafka to stay. All this stuff just makes no sense. And from a top-down program standpoint, it's just all unorganized. The order of operations is horrible. You have guys like, and granted, he's a more recent draft pick. He might be better, whatever the case may be. But to have selected Daniel Bellinger 3 years ago, have him be the starting tight end his rookie season, show legitimate good play, to just be supplanted by a rookie drafted in the same round of this current draft year, that tells me that you're bringing in talent and the talent is stagnating or even declining if you're getting beat up by another new rookie in your third season. So everything top down just stinks to me.
Didn't Chris Manhertz get more snaps than Bellinger this game? Like, that's fucking crazy to me.
Yes.
That's so crazy. Shout out Daniel Bellinger. His dad is fucking cool.
Yeah, cool.
But, like, I'm sorry. For me, from a personnel standpoint, if you put Manhertz out there, no defense is, like, they know he's not there to fucking catch a pass. And, like, Manhertz is definitely a better blocker than Bellinger, but Bellinger is a good one. He was brought in to be a blocking tight end. Why would you ever put Manhertz out there unless like it's like a 3rd and 1 situation where you really need that extra blocker? If you add Bellinger out there, that's more of like, oh yeah, he is a blocker, but he can definitely catch a pass and make a play. As to where Manhertz, like, he gets like fucking 4 receptions a year. I feel like it's not. I just don't think it's worth having him out there, honestly.
I mean, if you want to take it
tapping Bellinger,
if you want to take it a step further, you want to go heavy personnel. Cool. You know who's sitting on our practice squad right now who just got signed to the 53? Jakob Johnson.
Oh,
you know
who? Jakob?
I believe
it's Jakob.
So.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Damn.
You know who got his praises sung by our O-line coach on his Raiders slideshows? Jakob Johnson. Yep. So if you really want to do heavy personnel, get Manhertz the fuck out of here. Bellinger, I don't think the blocking difference is going to be that incredible between the two. Bellinger, we know can catch a pass and get some yak. That's awesome. And then you have your extra lineman in Jakob Johnson if you need that extra yard. So it's just to both of your guys' points, like nothing seems in sync anymore. And I thought that was the whole point of this regime, right? Shane and Dable coming in, both from the Bills. They're going to be in lockstep the whole way, communicating the whole time. And it feels like nothing we've seen these first 3 years out of them has shown any semblance of being in sync.
Yeah. To that game planning point, if you are going to be going, 12 personnel the whole time, you practice so much with Daniel Bellinger as a fullback this offseason, or in training camp, excuse me. And not only do you have Bellinger practicing as a fullback, you have, like you said, a legitimate fullback on this team who both are better pass catchers than Chris Manhertz. So you could have theoretically gone 21 with either of those guys in the backfield. We didn't see that once. I think the only time we went 21 personnel was when Tracy and Singletary got in, and I think it was only one snap.
Yeah, it was one.
So if the reasoning for this 12 personnel was we want to keep guys to the line to block, we want to limit Brian Flores' blitz packages and stuff of that nature, there are other ways to do it than putting two eligibles on the line of scrimmage. You could have had not only Daniel Bellinger in there with Jakob Johnson, but Bellinger in at tight end, maybe Theo in as a big slot, not on the line, with Jakob in the backfield, and you're still not committed to a run in that situation because all three of those guys can catch a ball in some degree. Worst case scenario, the actual running back can be on a legitimate passing route, like if Tracy's in the game, and then you leave Jakob in as the pass blocker in the backfield. But none of this creativity that we've seen throughout the years of Brian Daboll was deployed in that game. So if he's not going to be creative, he's not running the program, he's not managing the defense, what is going on?
Yeah.
And it's like, I just want to say, this talk of fullback makes me miss Elijah Penny. That guy was a
Giants
fucking
legend.
dog. I love Elijah Penny so much.
Eli Penny.
But it's like, and this is like just a little like nitpicking thing of like, I just didn't really like that they brought Manhertz onto the roster. I get wanting to have a blocker, but again, you have someone who can block and catch in Daniel Bellinger. Now, the other tight end options weren't great. It was Jack Stoll, Lawrence Cager.
Yeah,
that was pretty much it. Of like, I mean, me personally, being the fucking psychopath I am, I wanted Lawrence Cager because I still think he can be a pretty okay NFL player. But I knew they weren't going to because he was hurt for most of the offseason and whatever. But it's just a player like Manhertz, you just can't – I feel like you can't really have in the NFL that much anymore because defenses are smart enough now to where they know if this guy can't fucking catch a pass, we're not going to worry about him and we're going to focus on your other fucking areas. And not to mention, like I said before, if you have him in, you're probably going to run the fucking football. And it just makes your offense that much more predictable. So him getting more snaps than Bellinger just feels fucking stupid, to be frank.
The modern equivalent to having a guy like Chris Manhertz on your roster in the NFL is like if a contending team in present-day NBA was like, we're going to start Andre Roberson. Or like, we're going to start...
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, like, think of all those defensive specialists who were just nothing on offense. I mean, I don't have another one off the top of my head just because I'm not in basketball mode. But
like Matisse Thybulle kind of before this year.
Matisse Thybulle.
He kind of started to figure things out this year, but before then, like, there's a reason that the Sixers didn't really fucking want him anymore because, yeah, his defense is fucking incredible. He can do that one thing great, but when you provide literally nothing else, why are you on the floor? You are at that point, you are pretty much a liability on pretty much every other aspect of the sport. Like, it's just it's stupid.
Yeah. So, do we have any other things you wanted to divulge before I kind of shift the convo to the rookies?
I could go on a years long DJ rant.
Yeah. Do your thing. I totally forgot. Do your thing.
So the first note I have for this pod episode is please get this team a quarterback so I can have fun watching the rest of the roster. That's really how it feels. Like I hate to put it like that, but that's exactly how it feels, right? Like I'll start with DJ because that's where everything comes from. I mentioned this to Kon a couple of days ago. I thought there was nothing more telling about DJ being cooked than the preseason game against the Texans. When your quarterback is showing no confidence against second and third stringers, and he's looking slow, and he's looking unathletic, and he looks like he doesn't know how to play quarterback in a preseason game, that's when it looks rough. And, like, I do think the injuries are now, like, having a recurring toll. Like, the neck and ACL in tandem has got to be really rough. His confidence has already been cooked since Jason Garrett was the offensive coordinator. I believe was 2019 his first year as OC. So since, like, under Shermer, he was fine. He was taking deep shots. Under Garrett, it was like the offense we're seeing now that they're trying to have him run. And it's just spelling disaster for the roster, for the offense. It's looking like for the regime. I don't know how long Dable is willing to just be like, oh, yeah, dude, I'm happy to lose my job for this guy. But if it goes on a couple more weeks, we might be looking for a head coach next season. And that's scary in the third year of a new regime. As for DJ himself, now I'm going to get into the performance on Sunday, unfortunately. Malik Nabers is the number 6 pick to the Giants in the draft. You have explosive weapons all across the offense. You have Nabers, you have Hyatt, Slayton, Wandale, Theo Johnson, Singletary. I'll throw Tyrone Tracy in there. You have all these playmakers who hypothetically, theoretically, should be able to access all 3 levels of the field, create openings in the intermediate and deep for DJ to take shots, right? We know he has this big QB, big arm. He threw 1 pass of 20-plus air yards in week 1. And that was a missed throw dig to Malik Nabers for his first NFL catch. That can't happen. Like, this offense is way too limited if we're just going to have the dink and dunk thing happen again, because the receiving core is no longer filled with Richie James and Kadarius Toney and Isaiah Hodgins. We're way more explosive of a group than that now. I do think, like, the play calling thing was a little bit weird to me. It didn't seem like we ran any of what we had been running in camp this past summer, even last year, even the playoff year under Dable. That was a little odd to me. But, like I said, man, it all starts with DJ. We all saw it. He was missing everywhere. He was missing low. He was missing high. He was missing far. He was hitting guys' ankles. He's thrown over fucking Wandale in the red zone. And just put that into perspective a little bit. He had oh god, he had an expected completion percentage on Sunday of 79.6%, which would have led all NFL QBs by a long shot. He completed 53.3% of his passes for a negative 26.2 CPOE, or completion percentage over expected. You can't do that. Like, we all saw watching live that he's missing every single throw he should make. That really just puts it all into perspective for me. And maybe even more so than that, the average depth of target was only 3.8 yards. You're not even getting to the halfway mark on a first down in any throw. That's disgusting for a regime who has preached explosiveness and athleticism ever since they got here. And you might say, like, receivers aren't getting open. You know, that could be a thing. That was a thing that I heard on Sunday when I was looking through Twitter after the game. The Giants wide receiver group led the league in yards of separation per route run in week 1 with an average of 3.8 yards of separation per route run. Malik Nabers himself, 4.4 yards of separation per route run. And that leads me to another point. If you don't think DJ can hit anywhere else, why are we not taking advantage of the 6th pick in the draft? Did we isolate him on one side of the field any fucking play on Sunday? Like the Vikings did for 1 4th down for Justin Jefferson in the red zone? I don't think I saw him alone on the side of the field the entire game. you have the fucking best, most athletic, explosive receiver on the Giants since Odell Beckham Jr. And to not take advantage of that, it's just disappointing, man. I don't know how else to put it.
It kind of circles back to the lack of creativity, right, and ingenuity with how you're deploying all these weapons. Like the case for, and this is a little bit of a different circle, but when I was talking about guys like Brock Bowers and other guys in fantasy talks this year, I was like, but do you want this guy because he's going to be in Las Vegas and they're going to have Antonio Pierce and you don't know how he's going to get the ball and all that stuff. When it came to the neighbors conversation, I was like, yeah, you know, quarterback's not there, but he'll be deployed in numerous ways and he's going to have manufactured targets and this and that. I thought his usage, and granted it's week 1, but we better see his usage change. His usage was, you are the outside receiver with another guy to your side. You're on the opposite side of the tight end, and that's going to be how we line up. Like, nothing was different. Absolutely nothing was different on a play-by-play basis. 4 catches, I think only 2 of them were real manufactured touches. When your quarterback cannot function, Malik Neighbors should probably be getting about 5 manufactured touches in terms of, you know, jet sweep or end around, screen passes, running through the air type passes where you kind of put him in the slot and have him just run a bubble route, things of that nature. And granted, they ran an RPO, and I legitimately saw Daniel Jones look at him, pat
and
the ball,
didn't throw hot.
And didn't, yeah. So, like, some of that stuff I can look back on and say, like, okay, the 4 for 60 whatever is fine, and Daniel probably didn't execute. But again, I see it, and then I'm like, okay, so you call this play, and after 2 months of training camp, you haven't coached your quarterback enough to hit a slant on an RPO when the read is there. It just all circles back to Daniel Jones definitely sucked ass this week, but everybody who's there and has been coaching him and watching him for the last 2 months, your hands just cannot be washed away because of your past, you know, stops in Buffalo and whatever the hell else you want to bring up. Like, that just can't happen. You can't get a pass because you had Josh Allen 3 years ago. It's not the reality.
Do we want to talk about, you bring up Josh, what the fuck was the 3rd and 1 empty design quarterback run?
Dude, legitimately, they ran that play on 2nd down. I think it got like 5 or 6 yards, and
then they flipped it and just ran it on 3rd and 1.
It got That's like some high school shit, man.
Legitimately, I don't know for whatever reason, but our run that back and flip it play call was China. When we went China, we all understood what was happening. Like, that is not stuff you can do in an NFL game.
No, and
they have a history of doing it. They were running trap. I believe Dable's first year, they ran trap like 6 times in a row down the field.
Oh my God.
It worked, sure. But what happened later that, you know, the next season, Josh McDaniel got fucking canned because he sucked. So, yeah, you could do that when you're going against the guy who's running his NFL team like a college program. But when you do that against Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, it's not going to fucking fly, bro.
Yeah.
It's especially not going to fly when you're doing it with a veteran minimum guard, okay? So, what is your solution? Either you don't flip the play, you get Evan Neal in at guard. I don't know, but it's not good enough.
I mean, you brought up Brian Flores. Actually, Des, I'm sorry. We've been fucking talking this whole pod. Do you have?
I was gonna talk about Kayvon Thibodeau, so y'all can finish.
Okay, I'm gonna
get into that.
I'm gonna hit last point on Dable, and then I just want to bring up a little bit of O-line stats. You can't be fucking out prepared like Dable was in week 1. He got ran through by Brian Flores. I've never heard him admit to a coaching fault like live at a presser. One of the first things he said in his post-game availability was, "Oh yeah, I thought they were going to blitz more." We know Brian Flores is usually aggressive. He likes stacking the box. He likes sending blitzes from the cornerback. He likes everything, right? It's a lot of murk up the box, fade, or look like it's going to be a light box, and then send the house. Dable has to know that too. I can't, like, we can know it, it doesn't mean shit if our head coach doesn't. And it's kind of scary that he doesn't for the offensive mind that he is. Like, I don't think I've had any thoughts of wanting to fire him at all, like in his entire tenure. But to Kon's earlier point, if things keep flying like they have been the past 2 seasons, or like season and now rolling into this one, I can't say that I'm going to go to bat for him, for Dable. If he's not going to show that offensive juice that we've heard all about, if he's not going to show the pivots in the game plan, if he's not going to be able to adjust, and, you know, even if it's like, hey, Daniel, we really want to protect you. You're not playing so great. Let's sit you down, bring Drew Lock up, and then just go full-fledged with the offense. We need to see something. I haven't seen anything since like the first year of Dable that's instilled any confidence for him as head coach moving forward, and that's scary.
Yeah. I don't have any rebuttal to that as a formal Dable superfan. Like, fucking upsetting.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Like, I want to like him so bad. We heard so many great things about him in Buffalo. You know, I just want to see it, man. Don't let the quarterback stop you from, you know, expanding your full playbook and being the offensive mind that you are. You can't play scared just because your quarterback sucks. That's how you get fired.
So I'm going to talk about Mr. Kayvon Thibodeau here for a second, because we are now in year 3 of his NFL career, and it genuinely doesn't feel like he's learned any kind of pass rush move other than just, I'm going to bull rush and hope I can outpower the guy in front of me. I can't remember who posted. It might have been like Bobby Skinner or something, who posted all of his pass rush snaps. And I swear to God, every single one, it's just hands out, just trying to like run through the guy. And it's like, dude, I understand that was like a flaw in his game coming out of college, and that, you know, it's like, oh, he's really fucking good. But if he can learn even just a couple pass rush moves, he's going to be elite. He's going to be great. He's going to be worth taking fucking 5th overall. We're in year 3 now, and he's doing the same shit. It's like, I don't get it. Like, this might be a dumb question, but would edge rushers work with, do they have their own specialist of a coach, or would they be with defensive linemen?
So it usually gets delegated like by staff. So some staffs might have an edge coach, and some might have a D-line coach. Some could have a D-line coach who works with the overall group, and then they have specific, like, you know, specific meetings for the edge guys, or they're separate from the deep tackles and stuff. But at the end of the day, the whole thing is you still have a coach, right? So when the Giants had their staff last year, I know the Wilkins brothers were with the edge guys. Now I believe they all work with Andre Patterson directly, who worked with the D tackles the last 2 years.
Shout out, Trey.
Yeah, and Andre Patterson's a great coach. Like, I heard nothing but great things about him.
Look what he did with Dex, man.
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck is he doing with Kayvon? Like, it's like, I just don't, it's so painful, because I watch him, and it's like he had double-digit sacks last year without a fucking any pass rush moves. Imagine how good he could be if he even just learned a couple. Like Brian Burns' fucking spin move. If he could just learn something like that. And it's just, he doesn't. And yeah, he'll have a huge game every now and then, but I'm tired of fucking nothing for 4 games, and then he'll just come out of nowhere one week and have like 2 sacks, or like the game against the Commanders a year or 2 ago. Like, he needs to be more consistent for me to believe in him moving forward, because I'm tired of seeing these games where it's like one pressure, games where he doesn't even get a fucking pressure.
He didn't report a tackle on Sunday.
His entire stat line, I think, was just one pressure. It's like, it's so frustrating to watch, like, such a very obvious talent not be wasted, but not be utilized properly, because he still hasn't learned pass rush moves.